I decided to do this video after watching a video on fake New Agers this morning. For those of you that have read some of my blog and know that I work outside of doing these silly videos, you'll also know that I work as an acupuncturist and do voice dialogue and a few other spiritual type practices. So why am I doing this video? Well, to be honest, most of my videos are on narcissists and psychopaths. However, most people don't realize that these people can be found anywhere. If you want to find these types of people, look no further than the New Age movement. I call these types fluffy bunnies with teeth. They are the types that will prey on vulnerable people who are searching for answers, and then sucker them into all kinds of bullshit stories in order to get themselves a nice little cult following, or just trip them off with money or emotionally abuse them. They are most likely to prey on people that are either vulnerable, depressed, or seeking spiritual guidance. And so what better way to disguise themselves than being a so-called guru or to jump on the New Age bandwagon movement? They will tempt you with some kind of promise of having special powers or information that only they can provide, and before you know it, you're suckered into their slick mind games and sales pitch, or worst, end up signed up to some extortionately priced program. One of the biggest red flags is if all they are interested is in money. One of the reasons I wrote Dark Souls was because most of the people who had been out with psychopaths ended up penniless, and so often I will give away books for free to genuine cases. If you want to test these so-called spiritual people out and see whether they are just in it for the money, ask them to put their money where their mouth is. Tell them your financial situation and see how quickly they tell you they can't help out. They will run away quicker than a rat up a drain pipe. Some of their workshops have hundreds of people signed up at any one time, and they make promises to do a program in a weekend and charge lots of money. One such spiritual guru who I know personally made around £50,000 in one sitting. All he wanted to do was for me to promote his work, and when I wasn't in a position to be able to afford his expensive course, after sending a ton of emails out for him and pissing off my own subscribers with his constant sales pitch, he disappeared. If you want some advice, the following are big red flags. Beware anyone that states they are enlightened. The false teachers often make this claim because they have little else on offer to attract followers. Any old twit can say they are a master or an enlightened being. Beware someone who acts grandiose and omnipotently with no accountability. Some of these groups are run like prison camps, ensuring that only the chosen ones keep the rest of the group intact. Beware someone who focuses on enlightenment itself rather than teaching the path leading to it. A genuine person will focus on the path and strictly avoids any talk about enlightenment. Beware any group or master who encourages or permits adoration from his followers, or who demands love and devotion from their followers. If they have a big fan base, look at their comments. You will often find those that disagree with them will be deleted and banned from posting. Beware anyone who runs expensive miracle workshops and courses. It is just not possible to reach enlightenment after a few weekend courses. It's also not possible to manifest £1 million in a month either. Beware someone who presents themselves as non-profit whilst raking in a ton of money. If something feels wrong, it's because it normally is. Following your intuition is essential. One of the other things the person doing the video suggests, and I always suggest doing it, and for anyone that you have an interaction with that you are not sure about, is to go on Google. You can find some pretty interesting stuff about them. You might find that your so-called spiritual person has an interesting history if you search long enough. I had a lovely little run-in with a narcissistic author when I first published my book, and turns out she's as mad as a box of frogs, and yet on her website she claimed to be a celebrity psychotherapist and best-selling author. The problem is with the spiritual community is that no one wants to believe there are evil people in the New Age movement, but you can find evil people everywhere. The spiritual dark souls, or at least those with a hidden agenda, will seek gullible followers and turn it to their advantage as a way of building up trust. After all, it's not like you must be able to trust a New Ager, surely? The same as you wouldn't question the head of a religious movement, and yet some of these people are the most dangerous people on the planet. You only have to look up someone like James Ray, or worst still David Berg, who ran the Children of God, who ended up reinventing himself and still practices to this day. Some of the things he did to his followers are unforgivable, and he did it in the name of the Lord. The problem is that most of these charlatans are highly charismatic, and even if they are caught out, they will manage to shape-shift and reinvent themselves. I remember when I first qualified as an acupuncturist and some woman was complaining that some new age person had ripped her off and taken her business away from her. She was a Reiki practitioner and was so upset because she just didn't want to believe that people like that existed in her world. When I published Dark Souls, I got attacked left, right and center from the fluffy bunny brigade who don't want it. Revealed that there are bad people out there. They said if I called it Dark Souls it would give a negative annotation to it. And yet the person that complained the most is one of the most hypocritical new agers on the planet. If their clients knew what they were up to behind their backs, they would choke on their dinners. As for ascension and all that stuff where people get sucked into believing that if we do things a certain way we are all going to ascend to a higher dimensional plane. Wakey wakey. For those more intelligent souls this is just a metaphor. Waking up and ascending is not about literally ascending into the heavens, it's about conscious light workers who know their stuff, helping to keep us all grounded in reality and waking up the masses out of the illusion that is currently going on with this planet. It's about them teaching us to be spiritual but not hiding the fact that there are dark souls out there and standing up to them and saying enough. As for there being higher dimensional beings, well, of course it's all about what reality you are in. If you're a dark soul working with higher dimensional beings, then who's to say that all the stuff they are channeling isn't coming from an evil entity and as a result they are passing all of this misinformation on to their followers, assuming that they can even channel in the first place. For those of you that want to be spiritual, you don't need a guru to teach you. After all, if someone is a guru, they wouldn't be telling you they were one in the first place. They would be modest and understated, and they certainly wouldn't have any problem with you asking questions. Sometimes it takes these dark souls in whatever guise they come in, either as a lover, a spiritual guru, or a member of our families, to wake us out of our slumber. In some ways they are doing us a favor. For those of you on the spiritual path, it's hard to break out of the so-called matrix and realize that everything around us is not exactly what it seems. But once you break out and see things for how they really are instead of focusing on them, it gives us the opportunity to be even more focused on all the things that we want to be in the future. All the things they are not. In some strange way they are a mirror and a reflection for us. For all their focus on everything being so out of touch with reality, it teaches us that we too may have also been out of touch with reality as well. By seeing through their illusion and masks, it reminds us who we really are and enables us to remove ourselves from the people that we are not in touch with reality and focus on all the things that we are. So thank them for coming into our reality and focus on improving our own reality as a result of bumping into them. Before I end, I would like to say there are genuine people out there. I have met a few, and once you learn to trust your intuition, you'll be less concerned by those fake ascended masters, gurus, and channelers. Talking of channeling, this message was channeled via 7th dimensional Archangel Artubian. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not I am taking the piss.